Also on the table is a precedent of a petition.
That is the one that
It's a one-pager that
refers
is
to Gladstone.
Right,
CHG.
exactly.
Okay.
And then the third document that has been tabled is a sample document showing a draft of a petition for private bail, which is one that can be filled in, together with a sample legal notice that is currently used for those drafts.
All right. So we are not yet signed off on the redraft, right?
We have signed off on the proposed draft to Standing Orders 82, 3, 4, and 5. So all that is contained on the last page of the memorandum dated March 26, 2026, that has been approved by the committee.
Okay. But I see, sorry, on the redraft, beyond that, you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right, that is shown because we had to do some renumbering to insert the sections.
And so, okay.
So these are inserts for Standing Orders 82, 3, 4, and 5, notwithstanding the numbering that you're seeing on the actual document.
Okay.
It had to be renumbered.
Chair, this was approved by the committee in its entirety?
In its entirety with one amendment, and that one amendment was to clause the proposed draft 82.4b, and that's the last line that says circulating within Jamaica. It should read circulating within the island of Jamaica.
Okay.
I'm just checking in the minutes, Mr. Minutes,
No problem.
to see where the there's a notation. You have that? No, in respect to the sign off on the redraft. Mm-hmm. But it's not in the minutes. It's in the previous minutes.
That were ratified on
the previous occasion. Okay. Just want to make certain that. All right. So with that being done, Senator Gale, I don't believe you would have been here at that time. Right. So the redraft was accepted by the membership of the committee, and so we will see that. Right. All right. So 3, 4, 5. So is it that we go on to 6? 82.6.
82.6. That's where we continue.
All right.
But at the last meeting, the question was whether we should amend the proposed draft to reflect a process for objections. And I believe from the last meeting, I'm not sure if it had been settled, but I know that the committee had asked for the guidance notes and the precedent, so that has been submitted for the committee's consideration.
So the objection wouldn't the objection, where is the objection? No. What I'm trying to find out, the objection that was as to how the objection comes, wouldn't it have been in 82, one of those 2, 3, 4, 5?
Right. So that is why it is that we were asking whether or not the proposed draft that was approved by the committee is supposed to be amended to reflect a position for objections. But I gather from the last meeting that there might have been a consensus. We could confirm with the committee clerk that an amendment might not be entirely necessary. So we may have regard to page 5 of the minutes.
Well, let me hear from the members now, because I see that I had made taken a position in that regard. So, Senator Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recall that we had requested to see some precedent to help guide us. So I'm not clear as to what these represent, if that was what we requested to help strengthen our position to come to that consensus. So I just want some explanation as to how these connect and what these are again. I recall these were requested.
So the documents that you have before you, starting with the single page, it marks petition, the Honorable House of Representatives, Gordon House, that document. I refrain from calling the names because it is just a precedent. So what this reflects is a copy of the petition. So the first stage of the process for lodging a private bill is to complete a petition. When you complete the petition, you also do the publication in the Gazette and you circulate it in newspapers. So this is a copy of the petition and what it provides, what it must satisfy, demonstrating, or it's to the effect a declaration to state, I'm satisfying what is required in the standing orders for this petition to be heard in the Parliament. So this is the draft petition. It was requested by Member Golding Campbell. What you have on the second document is a sample of the same petition where it is that persons who have indicated to the Legislative Council Department or to the clerk to the Houses of Parliament their intention to have a private bill tabled within the Parliament. It's a guiding document that allows them to insert the names and titles of the respective persons and the name of the entity that they're seeking to table this private bill for. So this is completed by the promoters. The final page, which is page 3, it says sample 2. This is the legal notice. So this is the notice that is ordinarily put in the Gazette, advising that they intend to have this bill tabled in the Parliament. So it's just guiding documents to show you what is the beginning of the process. What we do not have is a document that deals with objections. So when they have filed this petition or they have lodged this petition, they've submitted it to the clerk, they've done all that they need to do, there's nothing for objectors. There's nothing there to say how objections are to be raised, when they are to be raised, how they are to be raised, or how they are to be processed. The difference with our parliamentary system and that of the UK, which we often get guidance, is that the UK system actually have a private bill office. So just as well as you'd receive the petition within a number of days, there is also an expectation that you'd receive objections within a number of days before it is that the private bill is tabled. So I was asking of the committee to consider whether that type of system, that type of arrangement should be a part of our own standing orders, or it is just as good as it is.
Senator Gale?
Few questions for clarity. So the sample one, as it is, would be identified as the prescribed format.
It is.
And the sample two should follow. Now, in terms of sequence, it is when the notice goes out, then the objection can be raised.
Right.
And so we have no format in which presently an objection can be raised.
Right. So what happens in our current parliamentary procedure is that objections can only be formally raised at the private bills committee meeting. So
and
then
those
that
objections can only be raised by members of that committee.
Of that committee or persons who the members opt to invite pursuant to the standing orders.
Okay.
For submissions.
And there is no guideline as to how those persons can be invited. In other words, I would like to see, Chairman, a set of guidelines that spells out every requirement. You can't just have someone just arbitrarily comes in to form part of the support for an objection. If we are following a rule in terms of a prescribed guideline leading up to and after the notice, then I believe there has to be a guideline that carries it out through its entirety. And so how the objections are raised must be prescribed also.
That was the thought process.
Okay.
But the query was whether it should go in the standing orders.
Right. So I do agree that you do not legislate every part of an internal process. That's not how we draft legislation. However, our standing orders merely makes reference to an objection. It does not provide for it in any substantial terms at all.
Right. You would have indicated that the clerk would have suggested that there would be no need for it, correct?
Correct.
So if someone could point me to why the clerk would have suggested that.
No, not the clerk. I apologize. It was Member Golding Campbell.
Okay.
Member Golding Campbell, in her contribution in the last meeting, made reference to say that she's not sure why it is that that clause is supposed to be inserted.
Okay.
To that end, for the benefit of the committee and so that everyone can understand where the research was leading us as a technical team, I shared the excerpt from the Erskine May via email so that you can see for yourselves the procedure or the system that exists in the UK and to determine whether or not a similar or modified approach is necessary for our own standing orders.
For inclusion.
For inclusion in our standing orders.
Just for clarity, the issue of legal contention is whether an internal administrative process within the Public Bills Committee should actually be drafted and placed in the standing orders. Do we place it in the standing orders, or do we allow it to remain as an internal administrative process? That's the issue.
Senator Bernard?
Yeah, I think it would be useful to have Senator Golding Campbell here because, I mean, I agree with her position, but I'm hearing Senator Kavan having different interpretation. Okay.
I was merely seeking an understanding. I didn't offer a different opinion. My opinion would be in relation to what this senior legal counsel had asked, whether we need to insert it in the standing order or have it stand alone as an internal part of the operation. And I would stick with the latter. having it as part of our, because it's not everything you must broadcast in your standing orders. There are certain operational rules that you can control and you can contain that won't come under the exposure of those of everyone who might be privy to the standing orders. And so that's where you have direct control administratively.
And I believe that was a view that I had also maintained. I don't have we did not get, well, you said it was circulated by email, Ms. Jimenez? Okay, I can't recall seeing that, so. No. Yeah. All right, as I said, I can't recall seeing it. Any other commentary on that? Right,
Mr. Chair, if, with the leave of the committee through you, I'd ask if it is that you could permit us to propose a draft of what it is that we're contemplating for the benefit of the committee, and certainly revisit the matter when it is that Member Golding Campbell is with us. So if it is that the committee is so minded, I would also then propose that we proceed to Standing Orders 82.6.
All right, but before you get to there, the draft that you're proposing would be a draft for an inclusion in the standing order, or just the draft that would be used internally?
Well, both.
Both?
Both.
All
We
right,
will
so
propose something for the committee so that the committee can come to full determination.
All right. All right. All right. And so we'll move on to 82.6. Oh, sorry, Ms. Stewart. Go ahead.
Chair, before we move on to 82.6, there was another issue in the redraft here in regards to Standing Order 82.5b, which reads, specify the manner and the period in which any person whose rights or interests may be affected may lodge a petition or objection to the bill. So we didn't decide whether it would remain as manner, specify the manner and the period, or whether there would be a specific period inserted.
So just take me to the...
Page 3.
Yes.
It's 82.5b.
Oh, specify the manner and period?
Right, we didn't decide. Because that will be integral in the proposed redraft.
When you say we didn't decide, you see, having me confused here now, because I was of the belief, having heard from
the time frame. So should a specified time frame be integrated? So specify the manner and the period. So in terms of the period.
You mean to have this period specified?
Right.
I thought we had gone past that, because that would be included.
We wouldn't include it none at all.
It would not be included in this.
All
it
right.
would be include the person who is going to do that would have got that information. So it will be stated in the notice.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. All right. So we're on to 82.6 with the commitment for the redraft and the review when Senator Golding Campbell is here. All right, so 82.6 goes, upon the day ordered for second reading, the President shall, unless the Senate otherwise orders, propose the question that the bill be read a second time. I think that is straightforward. 82.7, after the bill has been read a second time, it shall stand referred to a special select committee. And 82.8a, every special select committee on such a bill shall require proof of the facts and other allegations set forth in the bill as showing that it is expedient that the bill should be passed, and may take such oral or other evidence as it may think requisite. And thereafter, if the committee finds that the said facts and allegations are not proved, it shall report to the Senate accordingly, and thereupon no further proceedings shall be taken with reference to the bill unless the Senate makes a special order to the contrary. A little lengthy, but straightforward. So 82.8b, the Special Select Committee, if it finds that the said facts and allegations have been proved, shall consider the several clauses of the bill and may strike out clauses, add new clauses, and make other amendments that it may think necessary. And in respect of such new clauses and other amendments shall describe their purport in a special report to the Senate. But no new clauses or amendments shall be allowed which are foreign to the objects of and reasons for the bill, which are beyond its scope. My question on that. The persons who are making the submission, because they just make it through a member, right? But that does not have to go back for any consideration of the persons who are seeking to petition the Parliament, if there are going to be changes.
So they are at the committee, they attend the committee meeting. So they are there when it is that these changes are being made or proposed to be made.
Okay.
Right. So wherever it is that you're seeing that they may strike out clauses, the members of the committee may recommend to them that they might need to make some amendments to the proposed bill to ensure that it fits form. And perhaps
I have not seen, is there something that actually indicates that the persons who are promoting it, yes,
no,
that they are required to attend?
No.
Nothing is there?
No.
Suppose they don't attend for whatever reason.
The committee continues.
The committee continues.
Similarly, hence why we raise the issue with the objections. There's nothing in the standing orders providing room for objectors to even attend the committee meeting. It has to be on the invitation of the committee.
Okay.
So if they are not otherwise placed in a position to lodge their objections, unless the committee is otherwise aware that they should be invited to that committee meeting, they would also not have an opportunity to sit before the committee.
Here's my concern with that, Chair. I have an objection, and a legitimate objection, but I have to depend on a committee to even notify or offer me an invite in order to place my objection.
I don't think you have to rely on a committee. When a notice goes out, the notice is
it's published in the newspaper.
Yes.
It provides that persons who have an objection can make their submission.
It provides that if it is that you have a contribution.
So you object?
It says contribution and not.
You raise an objection, but then, in all fairness to those who may raise an objection, you'd want that objection to be heard. Yeah.
Yes. So what I'm getting, Senator Gale, when the notice goes out and it's published,
right,
affords an opportunity for persons to make submissions if they so wish. Their submission may be in support of, it may be
or objecting to,
etc. Right? So, but what I have a concern about when I see the potential for amendment is if the person who is the promoter of the bill is not in attendance because the bill is carried by a member.
you're going back to 8B.
Yes.
Right.
The
So,
bill is,
if I may...
and if the promoter is not there, you said that the process can still continue.
It can still continue. But from experience, I think we've done probably two. What we glean is that an invitation is specifically sent to the promoters by the committee for them to come. And the reason being is when you look to Standing Orders 82.8a,
Yes.
it actually provides that the promoters must defend the bill.
Must be what?
They must be what?
defend the bill.
Must
So they
defend the
shall
bill.
provide proof of the facts and other allegations set forth in the bill as showing that it is expedient
No,
and that the bill should be passed.
Well, it doesn't. Where does it say that? It says every special select committee of such bill shall require proof of the facts and allegations set forth in the bill, as showing that it is expedient that the bill should be passed, and may take such oral or other evidence as it may think requisite.
So the question is, who does that?
So there is you have a promoter,
Yeah.
right? And but the promoter is not the person who can bring the bill. The bill is
No.
brought by a member.
By
Right.
a member.
So the member that is taking it on is representing the promoter.
Indeed. Well,
So the requirement of proof
Almost.
and the facts and other allegations set forth, who is going to provide that?
the promoter,
Yes.
but the committee must require the proof
And the proof comes
from the
through the promoter.
Right.
And so the promoter has to be present.
Yes. It's not expressly stated.
It's not
but it
expressly
is
stated.
indirectly required.
Yes.
If
But
it
I
is that
don't
the
want, I
committee
would
is
want
going
a
to-
situation where I'm the promoter and I'm not even seeing what is happening based on the concerns that I have raised.
All right, so the question is,
Yeah.
does that have to be included? Does it have to be included?
So the determination is whether
In some
that
way.
is included or that is part of the internal administrative functioning of the parliament.
Let me go back to something. Okay, if I look back to 82.3, right? If you look back at 82.3, it refers to a private bill shall be introduced by a member only. A, on petition from the promoters stating the objects and reasons. So the standing orders recognizes promoters and it
Yes.
speaks to promoters.
Right.
So that we are clear, at this special select committee, with your drafting skills, because I'm not putting in mind right at the moment, should we find a way to include the term promoters and their participation at that
In A,
in either A, in A,
In A.
82.8a, so wherever you say that may take such oral or other evidence as it may think requisite, including that of the promoter, something to that
something
effect.
to that effect.
Right,
So it makes reference to the promoters providing the evidence or whatever other means.
Yes, because it is a member who is carrying it.
The member is carrying it, you know. But it is relying solely on the member.
It could
And
appear
this
so.
asks for evidence. So is the evidence only and solely documentary evidence?
So, Mr. Minez smiles.
Yes,
Senator.
Mr. Chair. Based on the request, it is possible. And if I may, I would not disagree with it, because if it is that it is framed that way in the standing orders, it provides a right and not a discretion.
Right. Exactly.
So it aids further protection for the promoters, even though what is here is implied. It's not expressed. It's implied that for the committee to be able to do its job, it would require proof, and that proof can only come from the promoters.
And the promoter being the origin of the claim.
But it does not provide an express right for them to attend.
No. Me now, be a promoter, me can come in the room, sir.
All right,
I was
Senator
just
Scott
thinking aloud
Motley
when
first. Senator Scott Motley.
Chair, I was not at the last meeting, and it leaves me at a little disadvantage as to the nature of the discussions. But if you would indulge me, and we could just do the next 2 paragraphs down to 10, I think that our discussion would be much more informed as to the process if we just read those 2. I think it will impact on what we are...
And then return.
And then return.
All right. So just hold a second, Senator Bernard. Hi. Good morning, Senator Rose Bennett Cooper and Senator President Chairman, Substantive Chairman is now in the room, so I will yield to him, and he can read 9 and 10 as recommended by Senator Scott Motley. Good morning, Senator Morris. Yes, we got your apology that you will be coming in a little late, so happy to see you here this morning before the end of the meeting, so you can also give us your expertise on this particular topic. Let's go with 9 and 10. Apparently, Scott Motley said when we read 9 and 10, it may clear up.
Okay.
B.
All
This
right.
is my personal, honestly. That's my personal book.
Okay, so thank you very much, Senator Sinclair. Welcome, Senator Rose Bennett, Senator Professor Morris. 9, no person other than a member of the Senate shall be heard in opposition to any private bill unless he has previously lodged a petition with the clerk showing the nature of his objection to the bill and stating whether his objection extends to the whole or some part of the preamble, if any, or to the clause of the said bill, and praying that he may be heard by himself or his counsel against the bill. Subject to the provisions of this order, all petitions against a bill containing a prayer that the petitioner be heard by themselves or counsel shall stand referred to the Special Select Committee, and the committee shall hear all such opposers, I didn't even know that that was a word in the English language, opposers, who appear to it to have a locus standi. Mr. Sinclair, turn on your mic, no?
Sorry. Just listening to 9 and 10, I keep hearing the reference to the person who is opposing. President, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
Dissemination wanted to.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, because it doesn't make reference to the word promoters again in subclause 10. What it provides is petitioners
Oh, so probably we
be
should.
heard themselves or their counsel to stand in their place.
Well, we need to get a consistency then. Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Where I think the problem resides and why I asked you to go a little bit further. I think it is created by the inconsistency in the language and we should consider, indeed, in substituting petitioner for a promoter. I think it's more appropriate legal language.
I agree.
Members are in full agreement with that?
For the consistency. I don't know. Let me just look at so.
Yeah, go ahead, Senator.
The members an opportunity.
Bill
I know that
contain a
I've
prayer
dragged
that
them
petitioners
forward, so maybe you should give
subject
them
to the
just a few
provisions
minutes to
of all
consider what I'm
petitions
proposing.
Against a bill
Okay.
containing a prayer. Senator Scott Motley. Senator, I'm looking at 10, which refers to Mr. Chairman, where it says, subject to the provisions of this order, all petitions against a bill containing a prayer that the petitioners be heard by themselves shall stand referred to the Special Select Committee, and the committee shall hear all such opposers who... Can you give me... Explain
Okay,
that to
so
me.
I think the confusion comes about all petitions against a bill containing a prayer that the petitioners be heard by themselves or counsel.
Okay.
So it's against it's not against, it's against the petitioners being the promoters.
Right.
So you're against the promoters being heard. Remember what it says is that no petition can be carried except by a member of the Senate. So even though you're having a promoter, the promoter can't come and present on their own behalf. They have to present through a member of the Senate.
That's not how I read.
Well,
I understand. Let me tell you how I understand
no.
10. Let me tell you how I understand 10. All petitions against a bill. So there is a petition against a bill containing a prayer. So the bill would contain a prayer that petitioners be heard by themselves or counsel.
Right.
So is it that the bill is saying that the only persons who should be in attendance and is the promoter, petitioner, however you want to refer to it?
No, that is not my
Or the
understanding at all. That's not my understanding. But as I said, Senator Sinclair, I was not part of the discussion last week. So you will forgive me if I'm not capturing the thought accurately. What I see is that it has to be presented by a member of the Senate.
Yes.
So that means that the private person cannot, in fact, present to the Joint Select Committee. That is my understanding, but has to do that through a member of the Senate. This 10 says that the petitioners maybe needs clarification. If we are not both understanding it the same way, then it needs clarification. That there can be a prayer that the petitioners be heard by themselves or counsel.
Yes.
So it contradicts, yes.
But
so
9 says that.
Yes. Yes, that's what I'm actually saying. So this is, as I understand it, in respect to the fact that you don't want a member, you have an alternative to the member of the Senate presenting it to the Select Committee. So maybe I will ask Ms. Zimenez to clarify exactly what it is supposed to be doing.
On probably the 10th read of Standing Orders 8210, I'm gleaning that 10 is only dealing with the petitioners and not the promoters. Why? The first line, there's no difference between the petitioners and the promoters. However, in Standing Orders 8210, it's referring to the petitioners of an objection. So the first line states, subject to the provisions of this order, all petitions against the bill containing a prayer that the petitioners, being the objectors, be heard themselves or counsel shall stand referred to the Special Select Committee, and the committee shall hear all such opposers who appear to it to have locus standi.
This instance, you are conflating petitioners with opposers?
Petitioners in this clause are the opposers.
Yes.
But what I am also gleaning from the standing orders is that for you to have an objection, you must also file a petition to object against the bill.
Okay.
So the same format for
I don't agree with you.
the same format for a petition to promote a bill, the objectors would also have to lodge a petition against the bill, containing a prayer to say that they should be heard themselves or by counsel. And when they do make such a petition, it is incumbent on the Special Select Committee to assess the petition, determine if they have standing, and then permit them to attend and to be heard.
Right. So 9 and 10 seems to be recognizing the persons who are in opposition
To the bill.
There is nothing that we have seen up to now that requires the promoter to come and petition, support, advocate for, defend what they are seeking to obtain.
No, save
Right.
for the implicit,
Which is in
what is implied in Standing Orders 82.8a.
That is it.
Right,
So,
that's the extent of it.
So that's why I was submitting and requesting, asking that if in your redraft also to slip in somewhere, since there's a recognition of the promoter in Standing Order 82.3, it refers to the persons who are the promoters. That there is something that provides for them to be able to appear before the committee and to give such evidence as may be requisite.
Correct. And to this end, based on all the discussions that has happened to this point, it makes a point raised by Member Scott Motley that consistency in terms and a clearer definition in
Very
the use of
important.
terms and language is critical, because it took quite a bit of read to Standing Order 82.10 to glean that it was actually referring to objectors and not just regular petitioners. So I think consistency with the use of promoters as was proposed and perhaps objectors would give clearer language to the standing orders and may provide better results in interpretation.
I agree with that.
And maybe you want to direct your attention under the interpretation clause for petition in your research. Because it says, means a written prayer presented to the Senate and includes all petitions, whether relating to public or private matters, matters of general policy, or the redress of local or personal grievances.
And just to add to that, you will note that how it reads, the only time you use promoters is to avoiding to use it twice in the same sentence.
In the same sentence.
So it's on petition from the promoters. But consistently thereafter, the promoters are referred to as petitioners, and they're referred to as presenting a petition. So I think therein lies the problem.
Yes, I completely agree.
Okay, thank you very much.
So Ms. Jimenez, like 1082.10 needs a lot of rewording to make it more to make it clear,
Right.
so that we don't have to read it 10 times. Because that's so that's another task.
Right, but
For
it
you and your
wouldn't only
brilliant
be
team.
contained in 82 subsection 10, it would also be 82.8a, and we would just do a thorough rework of any reference thereafter to petitioner, promoter, objectors, to ensure that we have some consistency throughout Standing Orders 82.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, members, for contributing. Mr. Mendes, you have some work to do. Thank you very much. And this meeting of the Standing Orders Committee for Friday, the 1st day of May, is adjourned for a date to be fixed. Thank you.
Tomorrow star.